What do you do when all doors are closed to you? You change the door. Hey everybody, it's your buddy Beard Grizzly, and it's time we carried on with our journey. So far, we've had an outline of what to expect from our journey, a look at Earth and only some of what it holds, and two profiles, one of Andrew and the other of Evelyn Ford. All of these have been important stepping stones for understanding some of the initial causes for Remnant, but they only scratch the surface. What begins as a post-apocalyptic fight for your life on Earth suddenly transforms in a crash. This tower is a gateway of sorts, and the one who controls that gateway is the Keeper. The Keeper leads you to the Labyrinth, and the Labyrinth is the doorway to all worlds that were, are, or could be. This is the first moment of true potential within Remnant. This is the transformation. Just consider that again, every door that has been, could be, and will be, here in this space. The potential is limitless. The areas we could go, the worlds we could visit, the species we could meet. This transverse area allows us to see the border of the universe. But anyway, let's go over a few things. In particular, the conversation with the Keeper, the enigmatic being that sits on the throne in this odd tower. Also, I think Yoko Taro wanted to know where 2B was. Anyway, just a little joke. The design feels very Nier-esque, so kind of a hard one for me to pass up. More or less, I wanted to start off today by going line by line with the conversation with the Keeper. There's several pieces here that start to distinguish additional elements along your quest. So, without further ado, let's look into the conversation with the Keeper.
Cracks in the walls grow every day, surrounding me.
To start, the Keeper is commenting on how the Root are breaking through the Labyrinth, as well as the other worlds that the Keeper looks out over. His purview is crumbling. I don't think I need to comment much more on that, though I will say this is simply furthered by the next line.
Human, the core is rotten. The Root corrupts everything. Why do you distract the Keeper?
For context, the core is Earth. The surrounding worlds will be explained here in a moment.
Insignificant. Chance of success negligible. The Guardians are destroyed. The Devourer lurks unchecked. The Labyrinth erodes daily. And I can behold the tide. On the other hand, your journey is not guaranteed to fail. Very well. Enter and see.
Guardians. This is a concept we haven't talked about too much yet. What I will say of them, each world has a Guardian. Each world is given one to protect against the Root and other invading forces. The Labyrinth seems to have also been infected with the rot of the Root, however, and it grows and creeps around the Keeper. So the lack of a Guardian isn't really helping the Keeper realistically at all. There is another question of how the Keeper keeps the Root at bay, but this is generally unknown. I'm not sure I have any answers for that one at this point, past just saying he tries to plug the cracks and the holes that the Root may make in the defense of the Labyrinth and of the tower. The last bit is of this Devourer, but I'd like not to comment on that just yet.
The Labyrinth holds all doors and infinite possibilities. If the path you require exists, it lies within.
This is the line that blew my mind. If it's meant to be a near infinite space, then I wonder what other possibilities exist within that aren't just the three that we see. What other spaces could we see if the Root are ever pushed back? The Keeper gives us the hints we need to continue our journey, however. This is where we need to go. Andrew told us of this in his messages and postings. The Keeper is allowing us entry into the Labyrinth. But first, some more questions. Some of these I'll let play out as they fit more to what I've already commented on, so if I don't say much else, that's kind of why. You've already got the answers.
Yes, there is time. The Root threatens every world, so every world is given a protector. Guardians are not easily killed. When one dies, however, the root can claim that wound and grow stronger. The loss of several guardians made way for the Devourer. The Devourer has made the root very strong indeed. I am the Keeper. I will be the last to fall.
The Keeper is intoning that he has something to do with the whole of the universe as we see it. Something, but what is exactly unknown. The Labyrinth seems to have many building blocks behind it, and if it's the seat of the worlds, so to speak, then it would make sense that as Overseer, he would be a very prevalent part of the world system and of those building blocks. But a lot of that is guesses. There is inference, but not a lot of concrete information.
This place is both like the worlds and unlike them. It is the core, inviolable, and without need of a guardian.
Earth seems to, curiously, not have a need for a guardian. It's allowed for Earth to kind of have its own time and space to do as it generally pleases. The core of this world system, it just seems like the other worlds offer protection around Earth from the root by acting as a type of wall. In some ways, the worlds with guardians operate as our protectors, whether they know it or not. That we are able to connect to these worlds via the World Stone would then be a bit better explained. It means that we have some kind of interconnectivity to us, but it's not necessarily known why or how previously. Possibly the remnants of whatever these guardians were allows for us to connect out to them. Or whatever the symbols realistically mean, or it's basically just Stargate and that's all she wrote. But then how did our world become invaded? Thankfully, that's the next question we're allowed to ask. And for a vocab check, inviolable means never to be broken, infringed, or dishonored.
I have neither knowledge nor resources to devote to the question. The root could not have come without invitation.
Somehow the root were allowed in. The Keeper's unable to know why or understand why, largely because he doesn't necessarily have the means to do so, nor the time to begin with, but something allowed them into the core. Something welcomed them to Earth. Something or someone, more possibly. So the question is who the root were invited by. What led to their ability to come here? This one question has opened up dozens more.
An agent of the root, whether witting or unwitting, is unknown and irrelevant. The Devourer was the one who erased even the Labyrinth's guardian, leaving only myself to hold back unending rot. Unfortunately, my battle cannot be won with time.
While the focus is clearly on this Devourer, as the Keeper puts it, the interesting piece here is what else the Keeper says. The Guardian and the Keeper seemed to work together within the Labyrinth. There is some new findings that kind of lace back to the idea of beings linked with Guardians, and I wonder if this is another such case similar to that notion. This is from the Subject 2923 storyline, however, and I'm jumping pretty well ahead, but I wanted to call it out. The possibility of an entity and a guardian being linked together for either share of powers or something else, I don't know, could be possible. Also, to avoid talking about the Devourer, because that will be something I do not disclose for a while, that the Keeper says an agent of the root, but witting or unwittingly. That's the important mention. Let's just say that sometimes going on an epic quest is not the best idea in the world. I think that'll sum it up for the time being. I'm sure someone will ruin it in the comments below if you care to look around. I will still choose not to.
It is the seat of the worlds, built upon the core, and all worlds are built upon it. The Labyrinth contains all doors that ever were, are, or may be. Some are lost, some destroyed, but all are contained within.
This goes back to what I mentioned before, that the Labyrinth is the seat of all worlds. It's built from the core, which is ourselves on Earth, and everything else builds around us. The idea of the wall analogy may not be far off from the truth. Though there is a curious idea that exists within the World Stones as a whole and their impact on humanity over generations. This is something I will probably come to sooner rather than later, but it requires its own explanation at a later date, and a whole lot of digging besides. I promise it's worth the wait. It's one of the major themes of Remnant. It's an important one that at some point will definitely need to be understood so that you know more of why I really like this game. I will simply leave you with the word influence for you to have a little bit of a teaser of what I mean, and think on that influence as the world stones and how they kind of impact humanity, or perhaps vice versa. Lastly, the idea of a continuous realm, a continuous story and worlds to visit. Reiterated here again, the possibilities and places we could go within this universe are limited only by your imagination. In some cases, playing back to what I just said, quite literally. But now, it's time to go.
This is the maximum help I can provide at the moment. All endeavors will fail if I do any more.
But where? Well, to the seat of the worlds, of course. The Labyrinth is a broken sprawl of a place. There's a world stone in the middle suggesting travel can be done to and from this area if you know the proper codes and sequences of the runes that are all over the world stones. There are forming bridges that lead you from one path to the next as well, which opens up which ways you need to go for any of the paths you choose to take. Or this could just be the Keeper's way of making sure we know exactly which ways to go and how our path should actually be led along. There are several gates that exist in this space, and on the sides of these are notes from Andrew, giving you an idea of what these worlds are about. I covered this in our look at Andrew Ford's profile at least a little bit, but each of these notes will be covered when we arrive at each of these worlds. That said, if you explore around, you'll find all of the names of the worlds you'll be able to visit. Corsus is a swamp world, seemingly broken by its own people, and partially built up. So it seems kind of weird that all of a sudden all the infrastructure they had was just abandoned and left to rot. Andrew isn't sure, however, so we have to kind of put some of the puzzle pieces together for ourselves and learn more as we go to Corsus. Yesha is a forest world, and Andrew mentioned someone he may know there by the name of Navoon. And the final world is Ram, a desert planet that seems to have been something not desert before. Both Yesha and Corsus have locks placed over their gateways with a mysterious kind of key. These worlds are locked to you, so you only have one place left to go, Ram. But before we move on, let's finish up with our other thoughts of the Labyrinth. The tower itself is a curious thing. Before you approach it on Earth, the sky looks normal. Nothing weird, nothing out of the ordinary. Though you can see the outline of the tower off in the distance if you do pay attention. When it shows up, however, it seems to fall from the sky, or otherwise the appearance as a whole causes the land around the tower to shudder and shake. A small earthquake, for sure. But more curious is up in the sky. The sky goes yellow with fragments of black moving up and down through it. This is the same as what we see in the Labyrinth itself. For some reason, the tower seems to alter the space around it. For how far is my question. This contained space is interesting, to say the least, but I'm unsure what other effect the tower has on Earth. Anyway, that's too much time spent on something minor, especially without additional information. Just know that the influence of the tower seems to be outside of a simple explanation, but I don't have enough information to fully fill in the blanks. It does definitely seem it alters the dimension in some way, but to what extent is the question. The stone steps and bridges forming up underneath you as we walk around seem to be activated by presence, but other than a cool little effect that gets me killed every once in a while, I'm unsure if this is meant to signify anything else. It could be to signify a loss of power and stability in the Labyrinth until it really needs it. It really needs to form that path for us to go to this next area. We could go as far to say the Keeper is watching over us with what I had presented earlier, that he's showing these couple gateways to us and only these couple gateways. And at that point, he's kind of watching every step that we take. But then why does he leave me die every once in a while? Like, God, man, I just want to go to the next world. Anyway, unfortunately, there's also several additional pieces that I can't really go into other segments of the story with Remnant or other linking material. Okay, it's Chronos. Jeez. I still don't want to cover Chronos. I still want to wait until you guys get the chance to play it when December comes around. All that means is I get to talk about this a little bit more, and oh, what a shame that is. Darn. I feel we'll revisit this area more than once as time goes by. Then again, we have to return through here when we're done with our adventures on Rom. So I'm sure we'll talk about it a little sooner rather than later. Speaking of Rom, we head to the only gate that isn't locked behind a key, and we pass through it. What will we find on the other side? Andrew tells us of a desert world that has lost its history. But to what means? Next time, we'll find out. Thank you for sticking around for this little look into the Labyrinth. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll continue with this series as best as I'm able to, but we're approaching some heavy grind time. Remember all the areas on Earth that I showed off? Something similar to that again, and I'll have to do that almost twice over. You guys can catch me over on twitch.tv for streams about Remnant once in a while, but plenty of other games over there over the course of October especially. If there's any interest, perhaps I can start a series here on YouTube as well, similar to my Animal Crossing series, but I need you guys to give me that input on that one. Please let me know in the comments below if that is something you'd like to see instead of just having this series. I still feel like you should experience this game for yourself, but if you don't want to, I can always make a series on that, kind of on my own and edit it down a little bit more. Otherwise, if you missed the announcement, you can also support me on Patreon, here on YouTube with channel memberships, and Twitch with my affiliate status over there with subscription bits and so on. If you need to get in touch with me, say hi on Discord, Twitter, or here in the comments section below. As always, thank you guys for everything, and to all of you, no matter when or where you are, I'll see you next Spacetime. Take care.